The hospital where I had my second daughter was the same hospital. It's a small hospital where Emerson died. And so that was the hospital where she had gotten most of her treatment and where she actually did die. And so I was really nervous about being in that hospital. I'd been in there as a volunteer and as some other roles, but being in there in a medical setting felt really different. Um, and I think that my OB's office was not in there, but I think that one thing that was hard was I had such high anxiety about something going wrong. And there wasn't I wasn't high risk for anything to go wrong. And I did feel a little bit like that wasn't fully understood. I think that all mothers, all pregnant women are worried to some extent. But I think when you've already had a very rare, very unexpected, almost unheard of tragedy happen with your child and losing your child, even the things that are minuscule and or the chances of them happening are minuscule. I think we've already covered this, but those things, to me, it was like, yeah, those things could happen. Any of it could happen. And so I was really worried about being in that space. And I think that I don't think that was fully understood. I went to the hospital at one point where we thought we were having a complication. It turned out to be okay late in the pregnancy. And one of the people that interacted with me then didn't know us. And I think she saw in my chart something about having had a child die. And so then she said, oh, I think she said, how far along were you or something? And I said, oh, well, she was 16 months old. And she was a little taken aback because I think something had been mentioned about me having a loss. And I don't know if she thought that was a loss before birth or after. So she was a little bit taken aback. And I said, I think maybe they were talking about why I was at the hospital for this particular issue that wasn't a very big deal, but I was so panicked. And she said something like, oh, you'll be fine, just keep your head about you. And I think it was meant to calm my fears and to be like, everything's fine. But to me, it felt really like diminishing what to me were really real fears. When your child has died, anything's possible. And you wanna hope that everything will go well. And it did. But I was really fortunate that the doctor who delivered Margot was very in tune with that. And she made a big effort to try to make my actual birth as comfortable as possible, and she really did, and it did go very well. One of the things that I appreciated that she said was, I had this real fear about this one hallway in the hospital. It just came to me that like when I'd walk down there, I'd get like super panicked. And I remembered that when we were in the infusion bay when she started having seizures and everything went downhill really fast, and we were getting transferred across the hospital because it's a bigger hospital, the children's hospital within it. We had to get transferred from the infusion bay across the hospital to the children's hospital, which is really just a floor part of the hospital. And we were going down, and Emerson was sedated at this point, but we were going down this hallway, and I was holding her, and we were being pushed in this wheelchair. And this is a hospital that isn't like you go to children's, most people there have something serious going on because it's a destination for specialists. These were just like regular people, going in for whatever. And we're going through this, and I was sobbing, and then Emerson started seizing again, and people were in our way, and it was just this huge traumatic walk through this hallway. And I had forgotten about it until I was pregnant, and every time I would have to go to the maternity ward, which is a floor above where Emerson died, we had to go down that hallway from the parking garage. And I, for some reason, was like, I'm so worried about just that being there. And so my doctor was like, I don't think this is something that you need to like get over or work through. She was like, there are other entrances. And she like gave me this whole plan about like where to park and what entrance to go through. And she really kind of helped me think of some like workarounds for some of the pieces of being in the hospital that were going to be hard. And I really appreciated her understanding that these weren't just me being an anxious pregnant woman or anxious new mother, that they were real things that were really traumatic. And so I think that if providers can just understand that some of the things that might seem like irrational fears are not irrational, and that they feel very real, and just kind of maybe helping you talk through them and see if there's anything that can be done to make it a little better. It's not going to ever be perfect, you know, and you might get it wrong or whatever, but I think sometimes just little things can just make a big difference, where you can just feel that much more comfortable and feel like somebody heard you and didn't dismiss or minimize some of your fears that might seem over the top, but based on your experience are pretty understandable.